You guys, welcome into Faith in Football. My name's Neil. As always, I am your host. Welcome back for another edition. And we're going to be talking do's and don'ts, and we're going to be learning how to read a draft board. And we're going to be talking about the temptations of the draft. Things you should do, things you shouldn't do, kind of like life. There's a lot of times when things that we want to do isn't necessarily things that we should do, but we're tempted. And sometimes, I ask myself, why am I tempted so much? Why is this here? Why does God allow this to happen? Well, even Jesus was tempted, and that's where our verse is coming from. We're actually looking at the chapter 4 of Luke, where Jesus goes into the wilderness to be tempted by Satan before he starts his earthly ministry. Now, here's something I found interesting is that he was like 30 years old before he got tempted, or before the Bible tells us anything about him being tempted. Before 30 years old, the last time we heard about Jesus, he was a boy preaching in the temple. So, in between what was going on, like, why didn't the devil mess with him when he was a kid? Well, probably because he wasn't on his mission yet. It wasn't his time yet. See, I believe that the devil doesn't really mess with you until you start doing something for the Lord. See, as long as you're doing what the devil wants you to do, he's pretty much going to leave you alone because you're not a threat. But once you become a threat, then he starts coming at you hard, coming at your family, coming at your surroundings, your job, your mental state, your mental health, your physical health sometimes, the health and well-being of those around you, those you love, leading them down bad roads, putting you in a bad place. So what do we do? A lot of times we try to fix it ourselves. We try to dig out of our own hole. And kind of like fantasy football, you really can't control who the other teams pick. And you really can't control in life what other people do. Now, as a parent, I'll tell you right now, it's just frustrating as all get out when you want your kids to do one thing and they turn around and do a complete other, especially when they're grown. I got a couple of grown boys. One listens, one doesn't. But regardless of what happens, I'm still supposed to be doing what I believe is right through God for both of them. So I hope that looking at this helps a little bit. I don't know what you guys are going through out there. I don't know what you're facing aside from the fantasy football side of it. But I just felt it on my heart to share that. And I go through temptation. I'm in places I shouldn't be. I'm in mental places I shouldn't be. But I'm always doing my best to try to overcome that, to ask the Lord for help and guidance. So take a look at chapter 4, look at the temptations that Jesus went through, and see how they apply to you. He was tempted of the flesh, of the ego, uh, a whole bunch of different things. But he always said, "It is written." Why did he say it is written? Because he knew the scripture. Now you're probably thinking, okay, that's great. That's Jesus. Of course he knows the scripture. But he was able to bring that scripture to the front when he needed it. And the only time we can do that is if we're in the word. So I know I myself find it easier in the morning to get in the word before I get going on my day, because at the end of the day, I'm tired. During the day, I'm busy. So if I put that stuff away and I'm able to pull it out and access it later when things actually hit me, I find it is a lot easier to defend myself. So Hopefully that helps. Um, Please, if you're new to the show, subscribe, like, and share. If you have something that you're going through, leave me a comment below. You can also find me on Twitter at Faith, the letter N, football one. So check me out there. Also, if you're looking for a podcast, and whether you're married, single, whatever, this is a really good podcast to kind of get you thinking. They ask seems like very simplistic questions, but if you listen to the podcast, it does make you think. And this podcast is the Victory Couch with Rick and Julie Rando. Check them out. You can find them I find them on Spotify. Um, I think you can find them also on Apple Podcast, anywhere pretty much that you find a podcast. If I'm not mistaken, they're there, but I use them on Spotify. So go check them out. Tell them that, leave a comment for them. Tell them that you heard them here on Faith in Football. So I also like to give a shout out to my other sponsor, Zia of Lafayette. Now, guys, we are 2 weeks away from my draft. My draft will be held at Zia. We're gonna have a nice little spread. I'll see what I can do about going live, and you guys can check that out. But definitely check them out. They're at 235 Duce Road here in Lafayette, Louisiana. You can give them a call at 406-0013 if you want to call them up and get an order in. They're on Waiter, DoorDash, all that kind of good stuff, or just call them up and go pick it up yourself. They also do catering. So if you have an event coming up, go check them out. Look, I'm telling you right now, the ribs are to die for. It. The grits, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If I could walk around with some grits in my pocket, I wouldn't have to pay for some stuff here in town. I'm just saying they're that good. Okay. So Zia of Lafayette, you go check them out. Say hi to Andy and Heath and Leonard and Tucker and all the guys down there. And tell them you met me within the month of August. And you can get your own free appetizer with the purchase of an entree. So, look, talking spinach dip, ribs, shrimp, outstanding. Go down there and check them out. Oh, and the hummus. Look, I'm not big on hummus, but this stuff is awesome. Okay. Go down there and check them out and tell them Faith and Football sent you. Pick up your free appetizer. All right, guys. So let's get into this thing. We're going to talk do's and don'ts, and we're going to read a draft board. Okay. So my first do is do mock drafts. In a little bit, we're going to look at a draft board that I did on this show last time, and we're going to learn how to read it. We're going to take time. I really didn't have a lot of time to go back and read it with you guys, but I'm going to show you how to read a draft board while you're in the draft. Things you should be looking for. And if you can train yourself to do this, it will make drafting a whole lot easier. So, number 2, don't lock into players or strategies. Okay. Why? Why can't I lock into it? Why can't I go after a player I want? I'm not saying that you can't go after your player, but here's the thing. Let's just say that you want, I don't know, you want Christian McCaffrey and Jamar Chase on your team. That's great. But I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen because CMC and Jamar Chase are both going in the first round. Okay, great. Say I want Jonathan Taylor and Travis Kelce. Okay, you might not get that. Here's why. Jonathan Taylor is either going to be the 101 or the 102, which means he's going to be first or second. And Travis Kelce is going in the top part of the second round. So he's probably not going to fall back to you. And if you go in with the mindset that you want this player or that player, you're going to wind up getting frustrated. You're going to wind up getting angry early, and you're going to do what's called tilting. You're going to be upset. You're going to be mad. You're going to tilt. Once you tilt, so for a lot of players, it's sometimes hard to recover from that. The earlier you tilt, the more messed up your draft is going to be. Trust me on this one. So number 3, do your best to stack players. Now, we talked last time. A stack is where you get a wide receiver and their quarterback. One of the easiest stacks to do this year is Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. Look, it's not that hard. Nobody really wants Kirk because he's not really that sexy pick. But the guy is steady, okay? He's productive. He's dependable. You got other guys like Kyler, Joe Burrow, but you're going to have to pay up for these guys. You don't have to pay up for Kirk Cousins. You can wait. You can get him later in the rounds, okay? So, number 4, don't handcuff wide receivers. What do I mean? Handcuffs are usually reserved for running backs. So, like if you have Dalvin Cook, you're going to want to get Alexander Mattison, but you're going to get him later. If you want to get Zeke Elliott, you're going to get Tony Pollard. Okay. Pollard has standalone value as it is. But these are guys who are like one injury away from being the number 1 guy that you can get later in the rounds. Now, do you want these guys on your team if you have that primary running back? Yes. However, what you don't want to do is you don't want to do, like, if you have Jamar Chase, there's really no reason to get T. Higgins because there's only one ball. So you're going to get everything from Jamar Chase and maybe not that much from T. Higgins, but in getting T. Higgins, you're passing up on another wide receiver that you could get this. You're going to get the points from him. See, it doesn't really make sense to get a wide receiver, 2 wide receivers from the same team. It's just not a really good strategy. I don't recommend it. Number 5, do get your guys. Listen, I know number 1 or number 2 was don't lock into certain players. However, there is nothing wrong with getting your guys, with going after your guys. Just don't lock into it, okay? Go out and get them because you're supposed to have fun. It's no fun if your guy isn't on your team. Every time you play him, you're going to be hating yourself for not drafting him. Don't push it down. It's okay to reach every now and then. Just don't reach a lot. Number 6, don't let them see you sweat. Look, one of my goals in every draft is to make that pick that makes another guy start cussing and going, man, why'd you have to pick him? I wanted him. Man, that was my guy. That's just fun. Okay. That shows that you know your league, that you know your teammates, or your league mates, and that you're making good picks. If you're making picks and nobody's upset, nobody does any wincing, or they're not frustrated, something isn't right. Okay, your team's not that good. It means you're making some bad picks. That's just my experience from the 20 plus years that I've been playing. So, number 7, do know your league. Like I just said, you've got to know your league mates. Okay. Know what their tendencies are, know who they like, talk to them. Okay. And whether you know them, you meet them face to face like I do in my league of record, or it's online, chat online, like get in that chat room, throw out a comment, see who responds. Stuff like, man, Javonte Williams is some garbage. Whoever comes back and is like argues with you about this, they're a Javonte lover. What does that mean? That means they're going after Javonte Williams in the draft, more than likely. They're not going to tell you that, but just that comment will draw out the Javonte Williams lovers. Okay. Number 8, don't reach, let it fall to you. Look, I know I said reach on your guys, and it's okay to reach sometimes, but You've got to stay on task. Okay. We're going to see here in a little bit. There were some players, there were some guys that reach, and sometimes it's okay to reach depending upon your draft position. Like very beginning of the draft, very end of the draft or the round, you're going to have to reach on some things. Okay. That's just because you're in that spot. Like if you're in a 12-team league and you're a team like 11 or 12, or your team 1 or 2 or 3, you're going to have to reach in certain rounds. Just make sure you know through doing mock drafting what rounds to reach in and who to reach for. Okay. Number 9, I've gone over this time and time again. Know your league mates. Okay. Know your league as far as the rules, the setup, the roster placement, all that kind of stuff. But you've got to know your league mates. You got to know these guys that you're playing with, because it's important when you draft. It's important when you do a trade offer. Some guys just don't trade. Some guys will make really, really good trades, and some guys just don't know how to trade. We'll go over that in season. And number 10, the most important thing in fantasy football. Listen close. You listening? Turn the volume up. Have fun. It's no fun playing if you're not having fun. Okay. You got to have fun. Fantasy football is just frustrating, aggravating if you're not having fun. Okay. So have some fun with it. We're going to look at the draft board right now. Let's go ahead and bring this up. Before I bring this up, let's see. Here we go. So actually, as I bring this up, myself over here. Okay, so before we get into this, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about one of my other sponsors. Look, my boy Dusty down at Keller's Bakery, and he will be at the draft. He's going to be bringing some little sweets from Keller's. Keller's, if you're in the Youngsville, Lafayette area, go down and check them out. They're at 628 Lafayette Street off the Youngsville Highway. They're absolutely phenomenal. The stuff that these guys have, it will just blow your mind. Okay. You walk in, you get that sugar rush. It is phenomenal. Go down there, and if you mention you heard about them here on Faith in Football, you get you 2 free mini cupcakes. Any flavor you want, 2 free mini cupcakes. Go down there and tell them Faith in Football sent you. Look, if you need a dozen donuts for the office, if you got an anniversary coming up and you need something for the wife for, to walk through the door, hey, happy anniversary, honey, they can hook you up. Okay. You got a birthday coming up, get a birthday cake from Keller's. If you just want something for the house, look, you got a party to go to, you got holidays coming up. Holidays are right around the corner, guys. Thanksgiving will be here before you know it. So go down there, check them out. They got pies, the pecan pie I can speak personally on. It's absolutely phenomenal. And trust me, I've had a couple of other ones. They got the little mini pies, they got the bigger pies. Go down there, tell them Faith in Football sent you, say hi to Dusty, and tell them I'm coming for them this year. Okay. Hey, real quick, if you're in the area, you can give them a call too, and you can find them on Facebook at Keller's Bakery of Youngsville. Okay. But give them a call, 337 856 4449. Okay. So what are we looking at for this draft board? Well, here is the thing. I want to look at team 1 primarily, because being at the 1 is horrible. I hate being the first overall pick, because you've got to reach and you have such a long time. You lose so much opportunity on the talent. So we're going to look at their first pick. Now, these guys had some guts. They're taking CMC at the 101, which is not that crazy. It is absolutely acceptable. The only thing that you're risking here is the injury risk with him re-aggravating that injury. Now, he's come back. He's had a very long recovery time, so he should be okay. There hasn't been any reports of any tenderness, any restrictions, or anything during camp that I've seen coming out of Panthers camp. He's got an upgraded quarterback. He's used heavily in the passing game. So I'm cool with this pick for the number 1 overall. Okay. Me personally, I'm not that risky. I probably would have taken Jonathan Taylor at this spot just for the youth, for the injury risk is lower, and I like the offense a lot better. But what I want to focus on is the second and third pick. This is the back-to-back pick that you get at the number 1 or the number 12. Okay. And we're going to look at team 12 in just a second. Okay. Just briefly. But team 1, you've got Pitts and Allen. Now you might be thinking, man, that was crazy. I would have gone like receiver or at least another running back. Like he could have got Akers. He could have got Connor. He could have got Elliott, Barkley, Fournette. He could have got one of these guys. Or he could have got some really good wide receivers. He could have got Keenan Allen, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, somebody. He could have waited on tight end and quarterback. Yes, he could have. But here's the thing. When you're at the number 1, you want difference makers. You want league winners. You want guys who give you a positional advantage. Now, when you have a positional advantage, when you go into a matchup, you can look at this board right now. You're probably going to be better at the RB1 than anybody else you're going to face, save maybe Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry. Okay. You're going to probably be better at the tight end position because you've got Kyle Pitts. You're going to be better at the quarterback position because you got the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. So, with having the number 1 quarterback, the number 1 wide receiver, and the number 1 tight end, or at least the number 2 tight end, there's not going to be that many people who are better than you in those positions. That gives you a leg up. Okay. The only problem is you're not going to be as evenly matched in other areas. Like, your wide receivers aren't going to be that good. And that's what I want to talk about, because when he missed out on taking all these guys, and then he comes back and takes Jerry Jeudy. Okay. Me personally, I would not have gone Jerry Jeudy if I had been at the 101 or at the 1 overall. I would have taken probably Mike Williams and Hollywood Brown. Okay. That would have more than likely been my pick. Okay. I would have passed on Josh Jacobs. I'm not a big Josh Jacobs guy. I'm definitely not a Damon Harris guy. I don't like the running backs from New England. You can never really trust them. However, I am warming up a little bit on Ramondre Stevenson later in the draft, as you can see by my number 8 pick. Now, you go around to 6 and 7. Round 6, round 7, you had Harris and Bateman. That's great. Me personally, with having CMC, and then if it had gone this way, you go ahead and give him Kyle Pitts, you give him Josh Allen. I'm cool with that. You go down here and you've got Mike Williams and Hollywood Brown. Then that leaves you these 3 picks to get a couple of more decent running backs. Yeah, they're going to be later, but it is what it is. That's how it falls. Kareem Hunt and Rashad Penny. Now, look, Rashad Penny is not even on this board. Okay. Now, he is the next highest ranked guy. His ADP is 93.6. Okay. Which means he's probably going later in the 8th, somewhere around there. Okay. So here instead of Harris, I would have taken Hunt instead of Bateman. Because look, it's great that he could possibly be the number one in Baltimore, but I mean, do you really want any part of Lamar Jackson's passing attack? No. You want Lamar Jackson for Lamar. That's it. It's him and Mark Andrews. That's the passing game in Baltimore. That's how it's wound up here in the past. I don't really trust Baltimore's pass game, even though they passed a ton last year, surprisingly, when you look back and see it. But they also had Hollywood. Now, Hollywood's gone. There's a lot of vacated targets, but those vacated targets usually go to the running back. So I'm not really big on Bateman. That's just me. I'm definitely not in on Burks because I don't like the passing game in Tennessee. Just me. Now, let's go to my team real quick. We're going to talk Russ Wilson. Now, why did I pick Russ Wilson? This is where the reading of the board comes in, okay? When you read this board, when I took Russell Wilson, I got two players on that side of me that already had a quarterback. Jalen Hurts was already taken. Josh Allen was already taken. Team 3 was the only team that didn't have a quarterback. Okay. However, I'm looking at this side. Okay. There was 1, 2, 3 teams that didn't have a quarterback on that side of me. I'm not going to risk losing Russ Wilson because I've got Courtland Sutton and I'm trying to stack. Okay. This is a stack you can get a little later in the draft. And if you look up here, like the only stack I could have waited for what I talked about earlier was one of the better stacks or easier stacks to get Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins. I could have got that. However, Justin Jefferson is really the only player in Minnesota that you're really looking for stacking. Okay. Like you're not looking to stack Adam Thielen and Kirk Cousins. That's just not really a dynamic stack. You want a dynamic stack. Now, why Russ Wilson? Because you got Jerry Jeudy and Courtland Sutton, and you got Irv Smith, and you got Dalvin Cook out of the backfield, and their new head coach is going to be heavy passing attack. Okay, they're going to be really heavy on the pass this year. So, who better to get? Or I'm sorry, in Minnesota they're going to be heavier in the pass, but I think they're also going to let Russ cook in Denver. So you've got Irv Smith, or not? I'm sorry, not Irv Smith. You got Albert O. You got Jerry Jeudy. You got Courtland Sutton, and this is why I need a co-host. Correct me when I'm wrong. I'll catch myself sometimes, but anyway. So I pick up Russ Wilson late. Now I could have gotten Justin Fields, but Justin Fields only has Darnell Mooney. I couldn't get Kyler because he was already gone. I could have got him earlier, but I would have missed out on Brown. See how that works? So I got Russ. I got Courtland Sutton. Now, team 10. I got some questions on this one. Okay. So, team 10. You've got 4 wide receivers in the top 5 picks. This is the epitome of a 0 RB strategy. This is just a bad way to go about it. I don't disagree with the 0 RB strategy. What I do disagree with is waiting until the 7th round before you even pick up a running back. You're going to be left with absolute garbage. There's no way I would have taken Chris Godwin. I would have definitely picked up A.J. Dillon. I like Joe Mixon, but A.J. has a lot to offer. And getting him in the 5th, I'm cool with that. Okay. He already got Mahomes. He paid up to get Kittle. I definitely would. I'm off of Kittle and Waller this year. That's just me. I wouldn't have paid up that high. Um, Mahomes in the back half of the third, pretty good value. I can deal with that. But coming around, yeah, he could have done a lot better on this team. I like Brandon Cooks. Allen Robinson is looking up, and Devontae Smith, I'm good with. So I would have probably waited on quarterback at this point because let's see. Etienne, Dobbins, even Mitchell. I have questions about Bryce Hall or Brees Hall. I'm just not into him. And I'm probably one of the few analysts that is. So, but that's just me. So, team 11. Team 11. I'm sorry. Yeah, team 11 didn't take their second. They took the running backs in the first and then waited all the way until the eighth to take their next one. Okay. And like I said, there's no way I would have waited that long. And if you look at team 10, you don't take a running back until the seventh round, back half of the seventh, and they take Cordell Patterson. I mean, if you're going to take anybody, you could have taken Pollard, could have taken Stevenson. Let's see. Yeah, Hunt. Yeah, I don't see it. Taking Patterson and Singletary, like the only running back to get is Josh Allen in Buffalo, and because he's going to be the goal line guy. That's just how it is. It's going to be that backfield is just way too messy. Me personally, if you're going to take a flyer on any running back from Buffalo, take a flyer on James Cook. So, I want you guys to look at this. When you roll down, look at my team right here. I went with the best wide receiver in the I was drafted into the number 4 spot, then drop down, pick up Jones. He's going to be steady. He's got a definite spot. Barkley, I'm taking a risk on, yes. However, I'm entering that dead zone for running backs where I really don't like a whole lot of guys. Therefore, I can concentrate later on my wide receivers. And you see that I got Courtland Sutton, Hollywood Brown, Darnell Mooney. Mooney is going to be the number 1. There's nobody else to throw to. Courtland Sutton, we've seen him perform at a high level in the NFL. We haven't seen it from Jeudy yet. So I'm taking Courtland Sutton over Jerry Jeudy in that. Hollywood Brown, he is going to be by himself at least until week 8 when D-Hop comes back. And even then, he's still going to be a high producer. Rhamondre Stevenson, look, all arrows are pointing up for Rhamondre in New England, so I'm good with that. And then I get my stack with Russell Wilson. Yes, I don't have a tight end just yet. However, Cole Kmet is still on the board. So I come back around in the 9th or the 10th because everybody else has a tight end. Nobody's drafting double tight ends. If they do, there's an issue. You can only play one. Remember, this league is not a flex where you have a wide receiver, a tight end, and a running back as your flex. It's only a wide receiver or a running back, not a tight end. So there's only need for one tight end. Make sure you remember stuff like that when you go into your draft. And remember, guys, when you go into your draft, have a strategy, yes, but make sure that you're able to be flexible, okay? So Until next time, my name is Neil. You've been on Faith in Football. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. If you got any questions about an upcoming draft, remember we're only about 2 weeks away from the start of the regular season. We're exactly 2 weeks away from the start of the regular season. As a matter of fact, less than 2 weeks away from a lot of your drafts. So hit me up if you got any questions, and we'll see you next time on Faith in Football.